everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from a little too hot Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today,
Oh, my God.
Dan, oh boy, we've got an enigma of a governor here in the state of Utah by the name of Spencer Cox.
Yeah.
And he's got I think most people know that the West is in a historic level drought. And
Yeah, it's not good here, people.
No.
We are all going to die.
I don't
Literally
know if
everyone west of the Mississippi, we're going to die.
I'm not sure it's gotten quite to that point yet.
I'm pretty sure it
Spencer Cox is he's throwing a Hail Mary to kind of try to
Yeah, he's got a
to fix
solution,
this.
you guys. He's
almost a Hail
got-
Mary, literally. But
Yeah, right?
All right, but anyway,
We're not Catholics here, Frank. We don't do Hail Mary.
I know. It's a bunch of our fathers.
Yeah, right.
All right. Before we get to that, though, we have to talk about some stuff that happened this week, Dan. And I'd like we have to start talking about this stuff. I know. I'm gonna share a little story here about a pepperoni pizza and a Jewish high school football player.
This feels like the setup to one of the weirder children's storybook stories. In the
There
picture
once
book
was
section.
a pepperoni pizza named Mitch. He high school football player.
Okay.
Who was late to practice, and his coaches, I guess, forced him to sit in the middle of the gym and eat an entire pepperoni pizza in front of all the other players. If he didn't do it, his status on the team was going to be in jeopardy, and his teammates would have had to run extra drills. Now, it took me a minute. I was like, oh, pepperoni's made from pork.
Yeah.
Which it's not pork, it's pepperoni, right? Like I've never once in my life actually looked at the stuff and thought of what animal it could possibly come from.
Right.
Because it probably doesn't actually come from an animal, right? For the most part.
It comes from pieces of animal.
Anyway, the school board, after hearing the lamentations of very, very, very upset lawyer father of the young man.
You picked the wrong Jew.
Has summarily dismissed all 7 football coaches and banned them from ever being employed within the school district again.
Whoa.
It was a 5-0 vote. They were like, no way.
So that makes it clear that like this wasn't just they happened to have a pepperoni pizza and they didn't know that Jewish people keep kosher.
Well, and according to the father, who, you know, he's upset. They keep kosher. They've kept kosher since 2013, according to him, as a family. And they sound pretty devout, and so they're upset. They're upset on that level.
Sure,
but not for nothing. They've got a great lawsuit on their hands.
Well, yes, there's that too. That is a lawyer comment, not a Jewish comment, by the way, everybody.
Exactly.
Just to clarify where I believe Frank was going with that.
Yeah, of course. Of course, it wasn't a Jewish comment. Jesus Christ.
I'm just saying, we're not saying that Jews are more litigious than anybody else.
No. Equally litigious. They're Americans. They're plenty
Americans.
litigious.
Exactly.
We are a litigious people.
We are.
But no, he feels as though everybody would have known that his son doesn't eat pork, right? Because they're obviously a kid like in that kind of position, the adult supervisors, they're going to be told, hey, listen, like if you're ordering a meal, you have to make sure there's a kosher option, right?
But also, the kid would have said, I can't eat this, I'm kosher.
I believe so. Yeah, the article doesn't actually mention that. But here is the deal. Like, I was like reading this, and I'm upset because these coaches are just dicks.
Right.
But to be honest, I think it's the humiliation of like these, like any kid forced to go through like some dumb ritual in front of everybody, right, as punishment. That's what would make me mad as a parent, I would think, right? Like,
you don't like the idea of hazing?
No, hazing I think is pretty shitty, right?
Yeah.
I think you know, that shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody, but that's what I would be upset about. Like, obviously I don't care about the whole pork issue. But like that just like really started to bother me the more I kind of walked away from the story and thought about it. I was like, no, fuck that shit. Fuck those coaches and this like, you know, this is how you teach young men to be, or boys to be men, you know?
Right.
And it's like, you know, boot camp type stuff. Well, you fucked up, so now the whole regiment has to, you know, the whole platoon has to go do whatever. And so
hey, that's how you train men.
Right.
That's how you train up a boy and turn him into a unfeeling, emotionally confused, completely unadept man.
A man. That's how you get a man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Anyway, that's my take on it. I do love though that the father keeps calling it a pork pizza in all the quotes. He goes, I made him eat a pork pizza. And I'm like, there's no such thing as pork pizza. It's just pepperoni pizza.
Yeah. Come on. What's really funny is wait till our listeners go to Italy and order pepperoni on their pizza. They are in for a surprise.
Pepperoni. No.
Well, actually, I'm guessing every Italian restaurant in the country, every pizza restaurant in Italy knows if they order a pepperoni with an American accent, put sausage on, not green pepper. But that's not what it means. It means green pepper. Anyway.
Yeah.
A bell pepper. Anyway, so I'm just gonna go through a quick timeline here.
Oh.
And see, and then we'll get to my story. Now, the timeline goes like this. Long about the year, we'll call it 350 CE, the Catholic Church kind of codified itself, something like that. And then they did horrible things for thousands of years, and then in like 2001, the Boston Globe broke the story about how the Catholic Church had this sort of rampant sexual abuse, and they just kept moving priests around to try and sort of sweep it all under the rug and everything. And,
I love this timeline, though, Dan.
Yeah.
You did jump over
I worked real hard on
bit.
it, so
nothing else happened in the Catholic Church.
Yeah, so
between 300 Common Era and 20 whatever.
So anyway, somewhere in between that 300 and something and like 2001, they developed this system which is everywhere, basically. Like everywhere, we've reported on it from every corner of the globe. If you have a diocese, you have pedophiles, you have priests abusing their position.
It's their way.
And harming the children.
It's just what they do.
Right. And then the next thing on my timeline, my really well drawn out timeline, is that the Vatican changed their rules so that that was less easy, a little less easy.
Okay.
And that happened this week.
Oh boy.
Literally, it took till now for them to change the rules a little bit. It's how many? It's 40 years since things really started to come to light, and then 20 years since the Boston Globe broke their thing, and it's been. Maybe the movie had to come out before they really took it seriously. Maybe Spotlight had to come out before anyone at the Vatican knew. Oh, well, if Mark Ruffalo's involved, I guess we should take this seriously.
Well, okay, so I just want to make sure that we're all clear on this.
Yeah.
So now, the Catholic, it is wrong for a Catholic priest to be a pedophile.
Apparently. They don't. Now they frown on it.
They just wrote these rules. They're just okay. Cool. That's good.
What they've done is now they've made it so that they've taken away the discretion of the bishops to some extent and said that if a priest is caught doing certain things, they are to be defrocked.
Oh.
They are to lose their job as priests.
Okay.
They are done. Which is great. That is an actual step forward. We'll see if it actually happens.
Right.
Who knows? But also it is a quote unquote crime. They're not talking about reporting anybody to the cops, but within their organization, it's a crime to cover it up too. So the bishops are kind of on the line on that as well. It's also nice, and this is nice, not okay for them to abuse adults either. So,
okay. They now have a firm stance on abuse. It's not cool. Not cool.
Pretty firm. It's a lot less squishy than it was. And we'll see how well they implement it, but one thing's for sure, they're not implementing it right away. You wouldn't want to jump in feet first on something like this. So everybody's got until December to get all of their pedophilia out of their system.
Well, good. And so it's basically love the pedophile, hate the pedophilia. Is that where they?
No. I don't think that's it. They would never treat pedophiles as badly as they do gay people. But no, I'm gonna give them props. They definitely took some strong positions on this. This is much needed change that they should have done. That should have been obvious hundreds or thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
This is the no-brainerest of no-brainers. The easiest call to make ever. But I'm going to give them partial credit for actually making it.
All right.
There's an amazing quote, if I can find it, from one of the guys inside the thing, Archbishop Iannone, who said that here's how he put it, and it's just, come on guys, phrasing. This is from the Vatican News website. He said that in recent years, quote, the relationship of interpenetration between justice and mercy has at times been misrepresented.
Jesus Christ.
Are you serious? You're going to use the phrase interpenetration when you're talking about this issue? You fucking idiots.
Freudian slip, Dan.
Oh my God.
He's got something on his mind.
That would make Freud's cigar explode. Jesus.
All right, Dan. Oh boy. Louisiana.
I've heard of it.
Their legislature has just approved a resolution that will order the flags in the state lowered to half mast every January 22nd to mourn the innocent children who've lost their lives due to abortion.
Oh my God.
The children. They're not even calling them babies, the fetuses babies anymore.
Now they're
children. Fucking children. They're calling it the Day of Tears.
Oh God. Can I just say, those innocent children could also have grown up to be adults. So you could say mourning the innocent adults who were the victims of of having been
abortion.
aborted.
I know. Well, apparently that was kind of the motivation of one of the sponsors of the bill, whose mother had been. It's one of these stories, right, where it's like the doctor told her that she needed to abort, and the mother she didn't.
She couldn't
do it, and
she
so
knew better.
And so now there's a pro-life, so-called pro-life state senator, I guess, who, or maybe she's in the House. I don't remember which one she is in this story. It doesn't really matter that much. So she's sharing this horrible, what if? And it's like, who knows?
Yeah.
Sweetheart. They're joining I don't know if they're the first state to do this, but there's actually a 501c3, that's a non-profit organization called the Day of Tears, that is promoting this across the nation. Their goal is to have every flag in America flown at half staff on January 22nd every year, in remembrance and in honor and in mourning for the over 63 million lives that have been lost to abortion.
I may have to install a flagpole out in front of my house just to not lower it for that day.
I absolutely, Dan, I had the same thought. I was like, we need to start something where people make sure on January 22nd they are flying the flag all the way to the top, like tippy top. No room for any misinterpretation there.
And then below it, a Planned Parenthood flag.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Like, and if they don't have a flag, then they need to get one.
Oh, you can just put their logo on something. They won't get mad.
As an sort of a hobbyist vexillologist, Dan, no, that's like the worst kind of flag. Don't just put your logo on a flag and call it a flag, Dan.
I can flag whatever I want to. I can make a flag out of anything I want.
Yes, you can.
A pork pizza can be a flag, Frank. Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
Well, all right, everybody, let's put on our grown-up seatbelts for just a second, because this is the story you probably encountered it because it made international news. It's a big one, and it's rough.
Yeah.
The timeline on this one is just that as soon as white people came to the Americas, they were awful to the already here residents of this continent, and they continued that pretty much indefinitely. So, the latest story comes from British Columbia, out of the Kamloops Indian Residential School. Now, if you don't know the phrase Indian Residential School, it refers to schools in Canada. Their equivalents existed all over the United States as well, where they would basically kidnap Native American children, First Nations children, out of their households and forcibly put them into schools that were meant to anglicize them, to whiteify them, to indoctrinate them into the obviously superior European culture. And the way that you know that it's superior is that they kidnapped children.
Right.
So they did this for a long, long time. And surprisingly, they didn't choose to treat these kids very well. And by the way, this was done initially by the Catholic Church. This was an imperative of the Catholic Church. And then it got governmental funding and governmental backing.
And other denominations joined in, right?
And yeah, boy, you don't want to miss out on an opportunity like that. Once you see the Catholics doing it, you want to make sure that you're not missing out on all the fun as well. So the Catholic Church ran most of these things, but they were government funded, and so this particular school, look, they estimate that literally thousands of children died at these schools all over the country. But they never knew really what happened to them. But at this school, they apparently used, I'm not sure what the technology was, some sort of sonar or radar to look down into the ground on the grounds and found the remains of 215 children.
Oh, boy.
Who were buried there unceremoniously, unmarked. Some as young as 3 years old.
Oh, God.
Who had died because of the wildly abusive environment that they were forced into. There are plenty of people who are alive today who saw these schools, who were part of it, who witnessed their friends just disappearing sometimes.
Jesus.
And not knowing anything about them. A lot of these people never saw their parents again. A lot of these people, they weren't allowed to speak their native languages. It was cultural genocide. And just in case anybody's wondering how long ago this was, the last government-funded residential school in Canada closed in 1996.
Oh, God.
So yeah, that's a delightful piece of our history here in North America. So hi, everybody. Fun stuff happening.
Yeah, that was a big story this week. I heard more on the radio this week driving around than I wanted to know. You know, It's one of those things where it's like, well, you know, I sometimes have the impulse to like just put some music on instead, and I'm like, no, you have to listen to it.
But you are allowed to also don't turn off this podcast just because we're telling you that. You have to listen to us.
No, but like there were some harrowing stories of some people who survived these schools. And
they were malnourished. They were beaten. They were verbally
sexually abused.
Sexually abused.
Yeah, really, really, really awful stuff. All right, Dan.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have to make too hard of a shift here. Thank God. This is about the Texas abortion ban, which passed the state legislature back in May. We're going on a month from when the governor, that's Governor Greg Abbott, signed.
He's a peach of a fellow.
Boy, isn't he great? Signed into law their Heartbeat Act. The Texas Heartbeat Act, which is, you know, these heartbeat bills target abortion after the heartbeat of the fetus is detectable, right? Which is about the 6-week mark, right?
To be clear, there's not even a heart. There is just like a little pulsing thing happening, but it's not a heartbeat in any way that you would recognize an actual heartbeat.
Fair enough. And actually, that is a good point to make. I guess you could call it cardiac activity.
Something like that.
That's actually, I'm lifting that from this article. I just saw that. But anyway, there's a number of these that are kind of going around and they're being challenged in court and everything at the moment. The Texas bill is a little bit different. It's in no way a statement bill. They actually worked really, really, really hard to try to make it stand up in court. It's probably the best crafted of them. But some of the things that it does that are really insidious and that, again, are different from the other bills out there. It gives private citizens, not the state, the authority to enforce the ban through civil lawsuits.
Right.
And it doesn't matter where the person bringing the lawsuit resides. They don't have to live in Texas. They can live anywhere in the United States.
Oh, great.
And they will be able to sue any doctor in Texas that they think might be in violation of this new law. And they can also, and this is the really rough part, They could also sue anybody who, quote, knowingly engages in contact that aids or abets the performance or inducement of an abortion, including paying for or reimbursing the costs of an abortion through insurance or otherwise. So this would reach out to nurses, rape counselors, family members who might just be helping out. There are volunteers who will help out in these things, driving women to a clinic. There's the people who, like, if there's, some crowd out in front of the abortion clinic protesting abortions, there are people who will sign up to, like, help escort women into the clinic and whatnot. And all of these people could be targeted under this law, which is really, really disgusting.
Yeah, I mean,
they're making it really, really kind of scary, right?
What they're doing is they know that the courts are stacked now in their favor.
Yep.
They're pushing through all of these ways of banning. It's just to ban abortion. That's all they want to do is ban it. So, like, they say it's the heartbeat law. They say you can't have an abortion after 6 weeks, after it has a quote unquote heartbeat. Well, most women don't even know they're pregnant in that time frame.
Right.
So
yeah, no, that's true.
It's an effective ban. It will probably hold up in our Supreme Court at this, it's so move out of Texas, everybody.
Yeah, no kidding.
Or rather,
but that's not what people are doing. People are moving to Texas in droves.
Well, and maybe that's the other thing.
I think that's what there seems to be a last-ditch effort in a couple places in this country for the very conservative state governments to push through all of the nasty, right?
Yeah.
As they see the demographics and the political landscape of their states changing.
Yeah, that's the thing about Texas. It's actually turning blue. So
yeah.
I'm wrong. Move to Texas and fucking vote these assholes out.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's crazy.
It is time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to close us off with some good news because we've been very depressing for the last two stories. So I am going to talk about one Mr. Rick Wiles, who
oh boy, we love him on the show.
Oh my God,
you've heard his voice if you've listened to the show for any length of time. You've heard us play his clips because he is horrifying person.
This is a man who looks like the grandpa that the kids cry when they hear that they're going to have to go visit. This is Rick Wiles.
He gives you throat lozenges and calls them candy.
Right?
Would you like some candy?
And he's so mean. He's just grumpy and mean to them. Anyway, this is a man who, his resume includes open and very clear anti-Semitism.
Yeah,
including use, like public use of the word. What did he call? A Jude-ta? Isn't that wasn't that his phrase?
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Yep.
Anyway, this is a man who is just deeply racist, deeply homophobic, and has been spreading misinformation about COVID-19 since before it was cool. And he, so like a few weeks ago, he was very clear, and did we play it on the air? We may have played it. He was very clear that he was not going to be taking the COVID vaccine.
Yeah,
he was going to survive the genocide.
Right.
Because the COVID vaccine was a genocide.
Yeah, it's
that was being
kill
inflicted.
Everybody, which is insanity.
Well,
I mean, I don't even have to say that. It's just fucking insane. Right. The man is insane. He lives in such a fucking ridiculous alternate universe.
Right. And what's nice about it is that he's spreading all of that good misinformation and everything.
Right.
So that's very delightful. Well, I am going to compare that to a more recent tweet of his, because he got the COVID, everybody. He literally, like, his company, True News, literally started sending around They tweeted that that flowing streams. So True News is, I guess, part of a larger company called Flowing Streams, or maybe that's the name of the ministry. I don't know. But they tweeted a thing a few days back that said Flowing Streams is experiencing a sudden cluster of flu bullshit and COVID. Yes. It was just COVID, you guys. It's not flu. There have been almost no flu cases in the country this year.
Right. But if anybody was going to catch flu, it was going to be these ding-dongs, right?
Right. But no, they just got COVID. Okay. So the Flowing Streams is experiencing a sudden cluster of flu and COVID among some employees and their relatives. Rick Wiles made the decision tonight to close the offices and studios until a TBA date next week. Our team needs to tend to sick family members. Please pray for your True News team. Then they tweeted a few days after that, urgent request. Please be praying for Rick Wiles right now. Please repost so that there's an army of people praying. Because homeboy didn't just get it. He hospitalized got it.
Oh, God.
So I am just pleased as punch about that. He seems to have survived, which I'm less pleased about.
But it will be interesting to see what he says now. That's actually the bit that I'm anxiously waiting for. Is I need to know what this has done to shift, if at all, what he has to say.
Oh, are you kidding me?
And which direction does the needle go, right?
He dug himself too deep to change anything now. Here's what he tweeted just a few days ago.
Okay.
Thanks to Jesus Christ,
oh God,
I survived the CCP, that's Chinese Communist Party.
Oh God.
The CCP COVID genocide on American people.
Oh,
yeah, it's just in America, Rick. That's the only place COVID got. I will be released from the hospital later today. My breathing is returning to normal. Pneumonia defeated. The worst is over. My deepest gratitude for all the prayers. I will share more later.
God.
Here's the thing. COVID is the genocide.
Yeah, he shifted.
The vaccine was the genocide.
Go. Yeah.
And the vaccine's not from the Chinese Communist Party. So what's the real genocide here, Rick? Is it
everything? It's all they're just coming there's so many fronts.
There's so many genocides.
They're just coming for him.
They're literally competing genocides. One of the genocides is there to kill the other genocide, and then I want to be the one who genocides you, not them.
Oh golly!
Not the Chinese. It's got to be me. It's got to be Bill Gates genociding him instead of the Chinese.
Pfizer's coming for you.
This is the thing. These people get to say completely conflicting things and not be called on it.
I know.
How is this okay? If you and I say completely conflicting things, we will get emails about it.
Yeah.
And we will respond to them, and we will try to either rectify our position or justify it in some way. Anyway, we get called out. But man, Rick Wiles gets to say things that are just completely contradictory, and everybody just yes, he's so right. He's so right. It is a Chinese conspiracy to commit genocide only in America.
You should email him.
I tweeted it. I did tweet at him,
and just be like, but more like pose like, Rick, I'm just confused, right? Like
Rick, as a concerned listener, I thought I knew what the genocide was, and now.
Now it's a new genocide that doesn't seem to jibe with the other one. What's going on? Can you explain it to me?
I don't know which one is. Who's my enemy here?
Yeah. Because I can't, because my name it's a Jewish last name, right? So
that's true.
He would just hate on me instantly.
So I can sneak one by him, maybe. Of course, neither of us has to use our actual name. Anyway, if you would like to call us out on a contradiction, please feel free to do so. podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail. The telephone number is 424-666-8688. 8442. We'd love to hear from you.
It's got the devil right in the number.
And stick around. We've got more show coming up for you. Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
Now's the time on the show when we get to listen to a crazy.
Yeah, we do.
And we got a good one today.
This one's a peach of a guy. Y'all may remember Milo Yiannopoulos.
Oh, boy.
Right at the beginning, sort of before and right at the beginning of the Trump era, he was one of these guys who, like, there were the darlings of the alt-right movement who claimed to be a part of a group traditionally associated with liberal thinking, and they were turning their backs. So that, you know, when you've got a black dude who wants to talk about how crap the black community is, they love that guy. If you have the Jewish guy who loves to talk about how, you know, how the Christian, the evangelical Christians are all very correct about their way of thinking, boy, they love that guy.
Right.
And then they had their gay.
Ah.
And their gay who loved to talk about how he was gay, but how, you know, far right-wing thinking is still the correct way to think. And that was Milo. And then he got canceled because he was a bit too much for literally everybody. But he has found a way to resurrect himself. And that is through ex-gayness. He has doffed his gayness, which is perfect.
Easily done, you know.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, here's proof. You know, all you have
Here's
to do is
proof.
just, you know, face a lifetime of living in obscurity,
Right.
After having a nominal amount of fame, right? Like, how do I get rid of my gayness?
Right. So he's going to talk to us.
There's the motivation.
But first, I'm going to paint a picture, which is that he still has the worst bleached blonde hairdo you've ever seen in your life. He's in a salmon-colored blazer.
Well, yeah,
He's not ex-gaying very well. He hasn't committed to the bit, I think, myself. Anyway, here's one of the benefits, one of the many benefits, Frank, and you should consider this, of going ex-gay.
Okay.
When I made my announcement, the first thing that happened, which will make you laugh, but it's true, is dogs stopped barking at me. I am one of those people. You know, everyone's got that friend that dogs always go nuts around. You're familiar with this, right? You got pets?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. There's always somebody that dogs.
My dog doesn't bark at you.
That's
I
so
keep
weird.
my
He
dog
barked
in
at
the.
me.
But
That's
he
crazy.
barked at you, but that's okay. He barks at people.
You must have some work left to do.
But he didn't bark at Milo. That is true.
But I was always one of those. I know this sounds so stupid, but this is just how I think that God reveals himself to us, right? This is just my experience of it. I was somebody who invariably, without exception, always used to make dogs go crazy. So we have a friend who's a political candidate down here, right? And her campaign manager has two of these little yappy dogs, and they would not stop. I couldn't be in her house for more than 20 minutes because it would drive everybody crazy. Even growing up, we had Alsatians, we had Black Labradors. They just didn't like me at all. The dogs don't bark at me anymore, and it happened almost overnight. Now they seem to quite like me, and it sounds like the stupidest thing in the world.
I think he's right. I think that is the
stupidest
stupidest thing in the world.
My
Frank.
God.
The dogs will stop barking at you, Frank.
Because dogs only bark at gay people?
I don't know.
understand what this is all about. What?
I mean, here's the part of the story that I find believable is that dogs hate Milo Yiannopoulos. That's the part of the story that I totally believe. And I
just love how
think,
much the dumb people on the clip also are like trying to support him in this wild and crazy claim, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, my dog doesn't bark at you.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
God.
think maybe one of the things he thought straight people do is like carry around beef jerky with them. And then he just learned that he could just give the dogs beef jerky and then they would stop barking.
Wait, you don't just carry beef jerky with you?
See, you gays don't know anything about my culture. Oh well,
silliness.
let's get off of Milo. Oh, God, what a sad, pathetic life that is that he has crafted for himself.
Well,
anyway,
you gotta, whatever it is, you gotta find your way into the conversation, right?
yeah. Get your fame back.
Yeah.
By all means, by any means necessary.
Yep.
Well, we had some folks call into us, write into us. I think we should start with maybe we should start with Donnie. Should we start with Donnie?
Let's start with Donnie.
Donnie has called into us.
Hey guys, Donnie here. So when I was listening to episode 494, I was listening about the study done on Christian kids that go to college, and I have to say that I'm going to have to side with Frank on this one, because my experience was that I went to college, in the early 2000s, right after I had left Mormonism, but I did a bunch of social science work, and I didn't really learn a bunch of critical thinking skills. And as you know, I got super deep into woo about that same period. And then it wasn't until I went back to college in my 30s and did a hard science where I kind of learned a little bit more, there was just a little bit more focus on critical thinking and critical examination and evidentiary support, where I started going to my woo groups, and they would make these wild claims like, the redwoods had been alive since the dinosaurs were around, and I knew that to be factually false. And then it started to make me question other things, and that critical thinking ability really did start to detangle all of my belief in that woo stuff. And so I think it really does matter, what your focus is on, because if you go into the hard sciences, I agree, it's not really about the facts that you're taught, but it's about the scientific method, and that you're always looking for evidentiary support to support the conclusions, or not even the conclusions, but to support your hypotheses. And I think that that's meaningful. So, anyway, just my take. Anyway, again, love you guys. Love the show.
Thanks, Donnie.
Evidence. Evidence is for suckers.
Well, I have to say he did one thing right, and it's the way to get your voicemail on the show, which is just lead with "I side with Frank" on this one, like that. That'll work. That'll work every time.
That will.
I do the screening. I screen the voicemails.
At that point, Frank will overlook the fact that that you were apparently in the middle of a hurricane outdoors while you were talking to us.
Yeah.
Sorry about the audio there, guys. But yes, Donnie, I think you've made a very valid point.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think obviously learning hard sciences and having someone standing over you going, no, you have to look for the actual evidence. You can't just make a claim.
Right.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Those critical thinking skills are, how you say, critical. Anyway, Philida wrote into us. Philida says, "Hey guys, when you mentioned the decline of Southern Baptists, I think you missed the true reason for their membership problem.
Ooh.
It's bad karma. They pissed off the god of tipping."
Oh.
Now, this isn't going to make a lot of sense for our international listeners, but those of you who have been to the United States know that when you're served at a restaurant by a server, they literally get, the way that they get paid is that you have to tip them, and that's how, the only way that they make any real money. They get paid a pittance otherwise.
Yeah.
It's a terrible system. It should go away, but that's how it is.
Standard 15 to 20%, everyone.
20% should probably be your minimum.
It should be, but I know that that's a hard sell when people are tipping less than that. So
yeah.
So I say
tip 20 and up, guys.
At least hit 15, bare effing minimum. You're right about 20 though. It should be 20.
Yeah. And if it's really good, 25%, whatever. Go up from there.
You just made some people angry.
What's that?
There's some people who've never heard that before, and who are now just like, what? I would never tip 25%.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Be generous, people. Anyway, Philida goes on, I find that odd since they believe so strongly in another mythical being. In the 80s, I worked 2 blocks from where they held their annual convention every other year. Oh, You poor person.
Oh, wow, yeah.
The servers at the local restaurants hated when
bet.
they came to town.
I bet.
Many of Southern Baptists would not leave an offering on the table after being served.
Oh, God.
When I hear anything about Southern Baptists, this is what I think of. That is not unique to Southern Baptists.
No.
Religious people all over the place find excuses not to tip, including the very popular, "I give the Lord 10%. Why should I give you 15?" That's a clever one. I'm not asking for 15% of your fucking income, dickhead.
Just the bill.
The bill here. Anyway, Mormons are also notoriously bad tippers. They bring their entire giant family into a restaurant, order the cheapest things they can find, and then, even though it's the cheapest things they can find, still leave a pittance of a tip. It's a pathetic way to live your lives, everybody. If tipping is the custom, fucking tip and be generous.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that the leaders, the guys, and it's probably all of these leaders in the Southern Baptists that are making a fortune.
Yeah.
Just doing great in their lives and still refuse to have the charity that their own God called on them to have.
It's not charity to tip, first of all.
I'm saying the charitable disposition.
Oh, sure.
Because it's
Fair
not
enough.
required of you to tip.
No, but I would
nobody's
say
forcing you to.
When you walk into a full-service restaurant, there is an understanding.
Yeah.
There is a social contract, perhaps even, right? Of like,
Right.
This is how it works, for better or for worse, right? Nobody loves this system, much less the actual servers who have to live in this system, right?
Yes.
Like,
You and I have both been
we've
servers.
both waited tables at some point in our lives.
I was terrible. You were good at it.
I was pretty decent. I did it for a number of years and I did okay.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's rough. It's rough. It's tough work, and yeah, you get somebody who leaves you next to nothing or nothing, and it's like, that's brutal.
Yeah.
That is brutal stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Here's a hot tip for all you servers out there, though. Be grumpy. I don't know why, but it gets you better tips. I was always super affable and very, very fun and upbeat. My tables all loved me, and I never made as much as anybody else.
What are you saying?
Same, be
I'm
grumpy
grumpy?
to your tables. Don't be rude.
I don't think that works.
Just be no. There have been studies that have been done.
Yeah, but that is that's a tough balancing act,
It's
right?
it's a shit way to live your life. Don't actually be grumpy.
The perfect personality for it.
Yeah.
To pull off grumpy table side. But anyway,
let's listen to Terry, shall we?
let's do.
Our friend Terry has called into us.
Yeah, responding to our conversation about titles and honorifics.
Right. Yes.
That we had last week, I think.
We talked about should we honor if someone comes to us and says, "Hey, I'm Reverend Joe," and whatever. Anyway, Terry has some firsthand experience she'd like to bring to bear.
Hey, Frank and Dan, it's your pal, Reverend Dr. Terry Daniel here, and I'm calling to comment on your piece about titles, which was brilliant. People who have bullshit titles from bullshit schools really piss me off, since I spent 10 years and $150,000 in student loans at legitimate accredited universities to earn my doctor title. I also have a reverend title, but I never use it because it seems stupid and meaningless, and it loses all its value when there are thousands of people running around calling themselves reverend because they got ordained by some woo-woo online school of some kind. Through my work as a university teacher, I've known many interesting, free-thinking, brilliant religious scholars, and some of them were priests, monks, rabbis. Even though I might disagree with their theology, I actually have a lot of respect for them because they did the work to earn the title. And of course, certainly in the academic world, having the word doctor in front of your name carries a lot of weight. It's done wonders for my career. Now all I have to do is figure out how to pay off the student loans. Anyway, that's my rant. Love you guys so much. Thank you for all that you do. Bye.
Well, thank you, Reverend Dr.
Reverend
Terry.
Dr. Terry. Yes, it's oh God, how would it make you feel? Because there are those people. Terry, obviously, you don't love your reverend as much as some, but like there are people who go to like Yale theological school or whatever,
School
and they
of
get
Divinity, I believe.
or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and they work their asses off in an academically rigorous environment, and then some guy walks up and he's like, "Oh, you're a reverend? Cool, I'm a reverend doctor too. I got my degree from the Barbados School of 15 Minutes, and you're a pastor."
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's some bullshit right there. But yeah, I what are you gonna do? Sorry, Terry. You share the same credentials from different institutions as a bunch of ding-dongs. So there you go. Well, do we have some folks to thank, Mr. Frank?
We do indeed, Dan. We actually have 3 new patrons on Patreon.
Nice.
We have 2 new deacons. We have Michael and Kyriakos. I hope I said that correctly.
I'm guessing you nailed it.
And we have a new priest by the name of Katie. And so
Excellent.
Thank you so
Amazing.
much to the 3 of you.
You all have the magic powers bestowed upon Frank and I when we were 12 and or 16. So
Yeah,
congratulations.
so much power. And I will point out 2 of the 3 are international listeners. So come on, US.
Yeah. Yeah,
Where
but I'm
are
going to
ya?
say, hey, international. Let's keep making them look like idiots here.
Yeah, absolutely. If you'd like to join them, of course, you can do so by going to thankgodimatheist.com and clicking on the support tab. There's a couple different options. You can go to Patreon or use PayPal. Either way, you're really helping us out. We have a goal at the moment to hire an editor for the show, and so
We're working on it.
we're not too far off. So if you could help us reach that point, it could free up my time, which is rapidly disappearing these days. So that would be wonderful support of the show. And as always, Dan, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Austin! Hey, Dan.
Hey.
So, we're going to talk a little bit about some Utah political figure, namely our governor. But the conversation is much more broad than that, because it's really a conversation about religious people copping out on actually doing things and just praying about things.
Yeah, it's ding battery at its finest.
And nonetheless, one Mr. Governor Spencer Cox, who is an enigma to me.
Oh my God, he is hard to get a beat on. I do not know if I like him or not at this point.
I know. He I feel like there are moments when I can see him maybe playing the Utah politics a little bit. I think a lot of how COVID was handled and mask mandates and all that kind of stuff was, I honestly think, just kind of getting a sense of some of the stuff that he said, that he probably, in a more moderate, politically moderate state, he probably would have been a little bit more aggressive in some of the response. I'm willing to kind of be like, okay, I see that. I see what he's up against.
It was politically expedient for him to let a bunch of people die. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but that is the politics of the
know.
state of Utah. So.
I know. I don't approve of it, but it's true.
But then he does things like, he is the first Utah governor to ever have a pride LGBTQ plus Pride Declaration for the month of June.
Yeah.
Right? Which he just did. And speaks about the LGBTQ plus community in ways that I never would have expected to hear from a Utah governor.
Yeah.
And in a way that seems
way
not
back when
to...
he was lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
And there was the shooting at the club in Florida.
Yes.
At the gay club in Florida.
Yeah, I remember.
And he came out with this beautiful, impassioned speech that no one was asking him to make.
No.
And was like it was moving, and it was very clearly sincere.
Yeah.
And
because he did not need to, right? That's where you could see the sincerity. It's like that was a political risk.
Yeah.
It's turned out to not be a risk at all because nobody in the state seems to really care, at least not enough people to like make it matter.
Yeah. Mormons are passive in their hatefulness, not not as aggressive as down in the South or whatever.
Exactly. But this week,
oh my God, this week
he released a video online.
The background is sorry. We should jump in and just say we mentioned it at the top of the show, but the background is we're in trouble in this state.
The entire West is in trouble.
But Utah is a desert, and we don't have a lot of water.
No.
At the best of times, we don't yes. For those of you who look at a map and go, "What do you mean? You're right next to a giant lake." We are right next to a giant lake. It's drying up too, but it's a salt lake. And it's not useful to us.
It's right there in the name.
You're right.
Lest you think we have water, it's right there in the name.
Right.
Not drinkable. And so we get all of our water from snowpack, essentially. And if we don't have a good snow year, we don't have a lot of water. So.
It was a disastrous year for snow this year.
And it's been a series of off years, right?
Right.
Like, there have been occasional decent years, whatever, but like the trend is long-term sustained drought in the entire western United States. It's like a 20-year drought at this point.
So we've all been waiting to hear like what is going to happen with like frankly, we're to the point where it needs to start being like you can't water your lawns, you can't, you know what I mean? Like people need
don't flush your toilet every single time.
Yeah, like it needs to get to the point where it's like maybe I don't know how many days can you go without a shower before you really offend those around you. Like we need to be taking concrete steps. But boy, asking a Utahn, a libertarian, don't fucking tell me what to do, blah blah blah, Utahn, to do anything to help anyone but themselves seems to be a non-starter these days.
Yeah, the greater good is not really a concept.
Right. So he's come up with what is obviously the best plan possible.
Solution, which is this weekend, in fact, of prayer.
Of prayer.
Let us pray.
To whomever you pray to.
Yes, no matter your faith, please pray for rain.
Oh my God.
It's like, oh God Almighty, really? This is the message.
So stupid. Wait. Why, when I saw this, did I not immediately tweet to the Satanic Temple to get somebody out here to do a prayer ceremony right in front of the Capitol? How did I not think of that till right now? It's kind of late in the game for it now. Because then if it actually like worked, if there was rain, the Satanists could take credit for it.
Yeah.
Oh, so perfect. But here's the thing. Guess what, kids? It's not going to rain.
There's not going to be rain.
There's literally like Salt Lake, Utah does not. They get some rain in the fall, some rain in the spring, snow in the winter, and then fucking nothing in the summertime.
Right. But when it doesn't rain, does that mean there's no God?
Right?
Is that like it is amazing to me because that conclusion never seems to happen.
Right?
Nobody is like, well, like literally everybody except, a few were praying and nothing happened.
Okay, here's
Is it
what we
our
need to
fault
do.
because we're not praying? That's
Yeah,
more
right.
likely where they would take it.
Right. Here's what we need to do. We need to draft up a document in like state level government speak that says, whereas Governor Cox called for a statewide day of or weekend of prayer for the drought, and whereas the drought has not yet abated, and whereas there is no fucking rain or aid in sight, and whereas God seems to want us to be in a drought, therefore, we're not fucking doing this shit anymore, and we're going to actually like take real steps now.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I think they should be required to admit when it doesn't work. If
If you're going to call for prayer as an elected official, you have to acknowledge when it didn't work.
If the rains don't come after that, you have to like go on television and say, well, guess God doesn't want this, so we have to do some shit. And frankly, I wonder if that's what he's doing. I wonder if he's playing the Utah politics game of maybe I can rally them, maybe I can marshal them if I can say I started with magic. We tried the magic.
Okay, I didn't. No. Okay. Huh. That's interesting because my thought was more along the lines of, and it has the same lead in that we had to this conversation, which is you can't get these people to listen to government on anything. Right. So can I get them at least to think about the fact that we're in a drought and to acknowledge that we're in a drought by just doing prayer, right?
And then
because
they've
then
prayed.
they're now they've accepted there's a drought and there's something that we have to do about it.
Oh, he got
maybe,
buy-in from them.
And yeah, first you get them to buy in on their terms, and then as time progresses, it's a little bit more what you're saying without the full acknowledgement. It's like, so now when you're asking them, hey, like, remember that thing that we had to pray for a whole weekend?
Right.
Like, we also, in addition to that, need to maybe water our lawns less, right?
Because you prayed, you admitted it's real.
Exactly.
You admitted
Right.
it. So now we all have to do a thing.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if there isn't some psychology about sort of kind of this kind of specific religious mind. Whereas if you go at them first with, hey, these are the things that we need you to do from a civically minded perspective.
Right.
They will never fucking do it.
Never.
Right. Because they do not think that way.
I'm going to drink extra water, you liberal cuck.
Here's how that's how you own the libtards, right?
Right, exactly.
You just like stand out in the street, just like with your hose on,
Yeah.
and do a little selfie of just wasting water, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, while you are wasting the only water we have.
I just don't. I don't want to give Governor Cox that kind of credit.
I don't know if he's...
But then we don't have a beat on this guy yet.
Yeah.
I don't have a beat on him. If it turns out that he then, in a week and a half or 2 weeks says, here are the steps we need to take, I might be interesting.
Is this how you manipulate religious people?
That's
what I'm
sad.
Yeah.
It would be deeply sad, but so brilliant.
Yeah.
Because they want to use magic. This is the problem. Everybody wants magical thinking to be the solution to things.
Right. Yeah.
And I get it. We all would rather magic be the solution to our problems rather than us having to take concrete steps that mildly inconvenience our lives.
Yeah.
And maybe make our lawns look bad. But Jesus fucking Christ, man. I think take some steps.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that'll be interesting to watch. We'll let you guys know if he does actually start taking steps fairly soon.
He will, and I think he would. And I don't know that that's going to be proof for me, right? Like because he has to start siding with concrete steps at some point, right?
Yeah. Well, you'd think so. It's an emergency.
Yeah. I think, though, the confirmation for me would be if you see Utahns starting to actually behave in on this issue in sort of a collective and community sort of way. Right?
Yeah. That would be amazing.
Because, I don't know what else is going to get through to some people. I mean, we have a really, really poor opinion of our fellow residents here.
It is a well-earned opinion. They have worked hard for it, and I'm going to give it to them. Well, kids, send us water if you can.
Oh, please.
Dr. Terry, I know you're up in the Pacific Northwest. Please, if you guys can just turn all of your fans westward to get some clouds over here, that would be great. Or eastward, rather. We're east of you.
Yeah,
anyway,
we're east of there.
If you guys have anything you'd like to talk about or tell us why our governor is a brilliant man or an imbecile, please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click the like button. Then we'll capture all of your information and use it in nefarious ways.
That's not what we do.
That's true.
It might be what Facebook does. But also, if you'd like to join one of our 2 members-only lounges, you can go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/members only. You got to type all that in. And it'll take you to a page with links to go over to Discord or to the members only lounge on Facebook. And they're great communities and still growing communities. It's amazing.
Super worth joining. Like that's actually genuinely worth doing. So do that. Thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their beautiful music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thank you to all of you, dear friends, for tuning in. We appreciate you.
Bye-bye.